Hello everybody and welcome back to Minecraft Diaries Season 3 recap. We're sitting in my bed because this is the only blank wall I have. My cat is over here. Want to come say hi? Want to say hi? No, he's too busy playing with the blinds. Anyways, this was supposed to be done 3 months ago, but then I had a job and I didn't know my hours would be 8 a.m. till 1 a.m. some days. But it was, so I did not have time to finish this up, but here we are. Okay, he really likes the wand. He likes pencils, so this isn't a surprise. Anyways, here we are. We're here, and that's all that matters. So I had to spend money. All right, I had to spend money printing these out. So like and subscribe. Okay, just for me, because I sacrificed a whole $10 for this. When I first started this about back in June, the channel that Minecraft Diaries Season 3 was on was called My Street. It was the My Street channel. There was like an announcement of a revival of My Street, and that's where it was gonna go. I'm gonna continue doing this, and that's where it was gonna go, but he's so confused. She changed it to Maou Diaries. That's what the channel's called now. It's called Maou Diaries, and all Minecraft Diaries is still unlisted. Everything that was unlisted is still unlisted. So this channel, it's like a newer thing. I think it's a few months. I think the change started in June, so it was all new to me. But it has like premieres, trailers, mini movies. It has a new series on it. There's a My Inner Demon mini movie on there. I didn't know about that. When was anyone going to tell me about that? It came out 2 weeks ago from when I'm recording this. Obviously, this is the last Minecraft Diaries recap because there are only 3 seasons. And season 3 only has 37 episodes. I do think this will be two parts though, because man, sitting down and editing a 5-hour video is a true triumph. I almost lost an entire file last time I did it, and I'm not putting myself through that again. So this will be 2 parts. So I was trying to think of what I was going to do next because I'm going to keep it going. I mean, come on. I have a lot of things I love to talk about, and I have no one to talk to. Anyways, so there is a YouTube channel called Jazzicalness, and there is a Minecraft series called Minecraft Once Upon a Time. If you don't know what Minecraft Once Upon a Time is, it is a roleplay similar to Minecraft Diaries. The creator, Skylar, talked about how she does watch Maou. It isn't very similar to this. The main similarity is it is a medieval Minecraft roleplay. It's a pretty well-written story. I really enjoyed it. The episodes are much shorter. It's not a finished series. It is unfortunately incomplete, like most Minecraft roleplays, as they do take a lot of effort to do. Let me tell you. I have one channel linked down below, and I've had to stop for a bit because my life gets super busy, and then I just didn't have time to do it. I did it when I had a job last year, and I had no free time. Let's continue. I highly recommend watching it. I will be doing a recap on that after this one, and I've already started that, so hopefully that'll be out soon. That'll be fun. If you don't know the series, please go watch it. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just a 22-year-old talking about Minecraft Diaries in my room. I am not your mom, but you should go and watch it. So let's do a recap of season 2. Basically, they go to the Irene Island and they make a camp. Maou's crying because Garth's gone. Aaron's like, well, I want to make Maou happy. So he goes to the Irene dimension, brings Garth back and Zayn back, disintegrates both him and Zayn. Maou has a bloody murder scream. Maou gets pregnant. Garth gets mad that Maou is pregnant. Lawrence goes insane because of the calling. Then he goes crazy and breaks Michi and Sasha out of jail, and they go to the Nether. And we never see Michi. I think we see Sasha. I forgot what episode it was on. It was one of the later ones. It was like it was in the last 5 at least, because I just watched it. But I didn't write it down. I just like kept it in my brain like, whoa, is that Sasha? So there are 37 episodes, like I said. The first few are 30 minutes, and jam packed full of stuff. So those episodes are really long. Episode 1, Goddess Divine. So it opens up in the Nether, and there's like shadow knights running around everywhere, and there's specifically one shadow knight that we're following. There's one knight that goes through the portal, and he's giggling and he's laughing. So then some alarms go off, and the shadow knight comes through the Nether portal. And who is it? It is Zayn. Zayn Romov. I'm not saying the last name again, so he runs out of the portal, and who runs out from the dark? Caitlyn and Zayn are the first characters we see. Yeah, but she runs up to the Nether portal, and Zayn's like, OMG, hey girl. And that's the first scene. So then we get a cute little shot of Phoenix Drop, and Phoenix Drop is really cute. It is so cute. Like, we have shaders now. Like, there's a lot of cute little, what I call them, like, cinematic shots now. Like, all the buildings are updated. Like, there's individual, like, pixel details, which I'm assuming is the Chisel and Bits mod. I don't know of another mod that does that. We haven't had a mod list update in a very long time. I know there are people making their own lists out there, but I'm too lazy to do that. So back onto the topic, it starts off with Garth exiting a boat and coming to talk to Dante, and of course Dante is still in his original Phoenix Drop uniform. Why wouldn't he be? And Garth reveals that him, Aphmau, Elena, and Lilith Garnett have been out at sea for about 2 weeks. Leona, where's Leona? Leona and Kiki's not on here because I mentioned her for like the first 2 episodes, and then she doesn't come back. So Kiki reveals that it's actually Elena's birthday, and she's throwing a birthday for her, and Elena is turning 3, so it's been about 3 years since season 2 is basically what we learned. And Kiki is like, all right, Leona, go and babysit the girls. So Leona goes on the boat, and Aphmau is telling Elena and Lilith Garnett a little story, and they are voiced by actual children. And my headcanon, maybe it's confirmed or not, I don't know, is that it is Aphmau's children doing it, because her children would have been around 3 at the time. And it's crazy because I remember watching Minecraft Diaries season 1, and around that time is when she actually had her children. And that was like a whole thing. Like, I was so as an 11-year-old, I was so invested in Aphmau's pregnancy. I was so excited for her. Obviously, I didn't have a lot of friends in middle school. So Leona takes the kids off the boat, and they go and play tag. We meet a new character, and his name is Sir Leoshant, and he is a new guard. Obviously, we've never heard of Sir Leoshant. I don't know why I said that again. And the first conversation we hear of him is him talking about hot chocolate. For some reason, I have no clue. But we learn that Garth does not like Leoshant at all. He literally walks 4 blocks away and then talks about how he does not like Leoshant. And the reason he doesn't like Leoshant is because Leoshant is a guard from Tula. Or he's not a guard from Tula. He was born in Tula, and now he's a guard. But he wasn't a guard in Tula, I think. He's from Tula. That's why Garth doesn't like him, because we all know what happened there. They get to the plaza, and Dante's like, actually, Aphmau, you should stay in the plaza, because there's a lot of visitors that have come to see you, and you've been here for 2 weeks, and they're getting kind of antsy. And he kind of reveals that Phoenix Drop is more prosperous than Ocassus ever was. Obviously, Ocassus isn't prosperous now because it's still being, like, taken over by Tula. So, obviously, it's way more prosperous than Ocassus now. Anyways, so Brendan runs over, and he's like, Aphmau, give me your children. I need to get clout from the new villagers. And Aphmau's like, what? So Donna and Logan run over, and then Logan's calling everyone in the village idiots. They're like, I don't know why they all want to see you, Lord Aphmau. Because Aphmau is the Lord of Phoenix. Where is Aphmau? Aphmau is the Lord of Phoenix Drop. Again, she took back her title from Levin. So Donna tells everyone that they need to leave Aphmau alone because it is Elena's birthday. And then the people are kind of like walking away, and they're like, oh, we just want to meet the cool new baby. So much is happening all at once. I would be overwhelmed and start having an anxiety attack. if all of this was happening to me. Maou is like, no, I feel like I need to talk to them. And Donna's like, you don't owe anybody anything. I feel like I owe these people this because I don't remember, and that makes me feel bad. And then Brendan is like, well, obviously you're Lady Irene because you're so cool, popular, and awesome and spectacular. So obviously you have to be Lady Irene. Like, there's no way you're not Lady Irene, because that is the criteria. Brendan then realizes he doesn't have ingredients for the dish that he made for Elena's birthday, so he runs off. Donna says that Levin, what the hell? It's mirrored. This is mirrored. Anyways, so Donna says that Levin and Malachi can make it in town to come for Elena's birthday. They can like take time off from the council. So not only do we learn Maou is the Lord, we learn that these two fools are a part of a council at the Phoenix Alliance. So we cut back to Zayn. Where is Zayn? Hello? Oh, we cut back to Zayn, and he's basically killed every single guard that stood in front of him. Caitlyn runs over with her fire fists, but they're blue now. They used to be yellow. She got new ones. Girl upgraded. So Zayn says that he wants to pick up where he left off, and then an epic battle scene happens between him and Caitlyn, and then Caitlyn knocks his ground on the butt. Caitlyn knocks his butt on the ground, and then when she knocks him out, she takes this like glowy orby essence thing from him, and he's like, give that back. And Caitlyn's like, no, it's mine now. And also, I'm taking you prisoner, but I'm not going to kill you because I know there's a whole line of people that want to do that, and I know exactly who I'm giving you to. We know where this is going. So we go back to the party, and Kawaii-chan has the absolute most annoying freaking voice in existence ever. You know when children are whining, and it's like, but I wanna. Like, you know how they have the at the end? That's how she ends every damn sentence. Anyways, so apparently Caitlyn works for the Brightport Training Academy, and that's where all of this went down. And Nekawet, where are they? Nekawet and Dimitri are also there. That's where they got Zayn, which does make sense. It makes sense why there's another portal there. So I'm guessing they like terraformed the mountain, you know, because the wolf tribe was there, and they had another portal, and they terraformed the entire mountain and cave and whatever, and they built like this entire protection area. Feel bad for all those guards that died. They weren't even guards probably. They were probably just people in training. Like, Levin and Malachi show up, and oh my god. Levin and Malachi show up, and Malachi, no, you can't see it, but Malachi no longer has his scarf. He's a grown man now. He doesn't need no scarf. So Maou gives them both a hug, and then Levin opens his mouth, and I'm sorry, I laughed. I laughed when he opened his mouth, and I feel bad. It's just his voice was so nasally, and I don't think that's what a 21-year-old sounds like, because that's the general age I would assume he's at. It just sounds like someone older trying to make a younger sounding voice. Sorry, voice actor. It just caught me off guard. I'm sorry. So Dante runs to the party, and he's like freaking out. He's like, Maou, you need to come to the docks. And then she goes to the docks, and then Caitlyn's like, I have a present for Elena. Like, that's how she says it. And then she pulls out Zayn. And when this first happened, I was like, why the hell did that sound like Caitlyn was threatening them? She wasn't threatening them. Anyways, so they take Zayn to like the guard station, and Maou asks about how Lawrence is doing, and Caitlyn immediately is just like, oh, I haven't seen him. He has not come out, did not come out with Zayn. Don't know where he is. She does go in the Nether. They send out like scouts into the Nether is what happens. So Garth goes to talk to Zayn, and they fight about all of the lives Zayn took, because, you know, they're still upset about that. Crazy that they're still upset about all the people he killed. And then he's like, get out of my face, I'm not talking to you. And then Caitlyn takes Garth aside and shows Garth and Maou the glowy orb essence thingy, and Maou says that she's going to use that to make Zayn talk. So Maou goes to talk to Zayn. They argue about her being Lady Irene, and then Maou shows him the glowy orb essence thing and is like, bitch, you talk or I'm going to destroy this. And Zayn's like, no, please don't destroy that. Okay, what do you want? And Mou's like, is he back? He meaning Aaron. Is Aaron back? Because nobody knew Zayn was back. No one knew Zayn came back as a Shadow Knight. Zayn goes into detail about like how Shadow Knights are made, which is actually kind of fascinating. So obviously Mou's like, well, if Zayn exploded and got destroyed when Aaron got exploded and destroyed, because Aaron, you know, exploded and destroyed him, maybe Aaron came back as a Shadow Knight. I don't know why explained it like that, but here we are. Zayn's like, there's a lot happening in the Nether right now. And then he reveals that he's gone. He's not back as a Shadow Knight, but his body isn't gone because Shad is now using Aaron's body as a vessel because they're compatible for a physical form is basically what it's described. No one's been compatible. No one's powerful enough. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Aaron is the Shadow Lord. Well, not Aaron. His body. Shadow Lord. Cut to the Nether, and Jean appears. Throwback to the existence of Jean. Have not seen him an entire season. I did forget to print Jean out, but if you look very closely at Shad, Jean is right there. So when I talk about Jean later, in the later episodes, he's there in our hearts and our spirits. So he goes to talk to Shad, and he's talking about how the rebellion is falling and Lawrence and Xenix are in charge of the rebellion. Lawrence and Xenix as a pair is kind of crazy. Like, dream team? Like, what is going on? What is happening? Hello? It does make sense because obviously Lawrence wants to protect Aphmau, and obviously the Shadow Lord wants to kill Aphmau, and obviously he also hates Aaron, so I'm sure it's also a plus that Shad's in Aaron's body. Or not a plus. It makes him hate him more because he doesn't like Aaron. And then Xenix just wants to be powerful and in charge of everything, so that's probably why he doesn't like Shad. Enemy of my enemy is my friend, which, that's normally how things work. Anyways, that's the end of the first episode. I'm going to say that was about 10 minutes. First episode. Episode 2. The Nether. So it opens up and Leona... Oh my god, I gotta get used to where these are. So I open up. It opens up and Leona is babysitting the kids and is like, who is the best babysitter? And then they're like, a chair. And then she's like, what? No, that's like a seat. Who's the best babysitter? And they're like, Aphmau. And she's like, that's your mother. And I'm not even gonna argue that because Aphmau is a mom and Leona is a babysitter. Aphmau is a capital M-O-M this season. So she's not a babysitter. Good for her. Good for her. It gets her into some situations, but also good for her. I wanted to point out that they called Aphmau a babysitter, but she's not a babysitter this season. She is a mom. So Garth walks in and Leona asks if she's okay, referring to Aphmau, because obviously she just got like a lot of information being like, hey, yeah, you're like ex-lover. He is your mortal nemesis now, by the way. And is told by one of your enemies. So obviously she doesn't, like, she's conflicted because she's like, I don't know if I believe Zayn or not. So he goes in to talk to her and she's just like, I need to go to the Nether. I need answers. And Garth's like, hey, that's like a major risk because everyone there wants you dead. She doesn't want to go in there for Aaron, but she wants to go in there for Lawrence. I'm sure she wants to go in there for Lawrence, and just seeing Aaron would be a plus. I think, well, obviously she doesn't want to see Aaron. I think she just isn't believing what Zayn is saying, but it's also making her realize she hasn't seen Lawrence in 3 years. No one has, and she misses him. He obviously doesn't want her to go, but he's like, I'm not going to stop you because I know I can't stop you, so I'm going to go, but we do need a plan, and we cannot run in there blind. Vlad can't help them because we don't see Vlad this entire season, but Vlad can't help them, who is Garth's brother and Zayn's brother, because he is actually in Okage right now, trying to figure out where their dad is currently right now. So Garth goes to Zayn and is like, I need instructions on where to go in the Nether. And Zayn's like, what? And then Garth's like, if you don't tell me, I'm gonna break this glowy thing. And then Zayn is like, if you break that, he comes back. And Garth's like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I think he's referring to Shad. He's referring to how Shad will come back. Because Shad the entire time wants that thing. Spoiler. So Zayn says that his condition, they need to let him free after he helps them. And they need to as well also give him his glowy thing back. And obviously, they're like, no, we're not doing that. And he's like, well, I'm not helping you then. And they're like, okay, how about this? We give you your glowy thing, but we are not letting you go. Why on earth would you think we would let you go? And he's like, fine, whatever. So apparently it's Caitlyn's job to keep the Nether secure. Like, not only is she in charge of the training academy, but she's also in charge of the Nether. So she's like, I'm going with you, as I was saying earlier. So Aphmau then is at the docks, because they're all still in Phoenix Drop. So Aphmau's at the docks, you know, sword fighting with her daughters, teaching them how to be self-defense, #girl power. Kiki runs over, gives her some food for her travels, and she reveals that the girls are going with her on this trip. With Zayn on the boat. Kind of crazy, taking your kids with this psychopath, but pop off, I guess. Kiki tells Leona to also go on the boat because she needs someone needs to be in charge of the children. So Kiki's demanding Leona goes, and then Sir Leoshant's like, no. It's like, she doesn't need to go because I'm going. I can watch the girls. And Leona's just like, but I'm the babysitter. And then he was like, okay, well, you do have a good point, so I'll just be their guard then. He dubs himself the guard of these girls. Then they all go on the boat. But before they leave, Garth tells Dante that they need to be on high alert. Then they head to Brightport. Then Zayn calls Brightport dinky, but when we look at it, it is not dinky. It is huge. It, dare I say, bigger than Ocasis. It is more architectural, is what I would say. Like, it's pretty big. Like, Phoenix Drop is very large, but Phoenix Drop is, like, mystical and magical. This one's much more, like, architectural, if that makes sense. So Caitlin sends Leoshant, Leona, and the girls to go get breakfast, and is like, go over there. Nekoe and Dimitri run over, and they're like, OMG, hey, girl. And then they run off. And we see Caitlin's old fire fists call back in when they're, like, in her office. Vincent, where's Vincent? Why are you over here? He's over there, so he's over there now. So Vincent and Haley, if you don't remember who Vincent is, he was the head guard of Numatelli, and also, why the hell am I forgetting her name? Cadenza's lover. We don't see Cadenza at all. We don't know what happened in Cadenza. Haley's also there, but Haley's in like a spectral form, so it's like just like a projection of her existence there. And basically her and Shad are in charge of keeping a barrier around the Nether portal. And the way that they're like powering this entire thing is with Asmund's relic, because Garth doesn't have it. He like let it go, because he did have it, right? Like he had the relic, and he like, I guess, rejected it. I don't fucking know. Going to the Nether, and Zayn is like, take off my bindings or I'm gonna be slow. He's gonna pull a Michi. Y'all remember when Michi did that? And he's like, I'm gonna pull a Michi, and they're like, ugh, okay, fine, we need to get this over with. So then they demand that Zayn takes them to Lawrence, and he's like, fine. He takes them to Lawrence. Zayn hits a button secretly somewhere. I don't know how he knew this button was there. I don't know why a button was on a random bridge, but there's a button there. And a bunch of alarms go off in the Nether Fortress, alarming the Shadow Knights that something's up. Something's too spicy for the pepper over there. But like the gang doesn't know that, because it only goes off in the fortress. So Lawrence drops from the top of the fortress and goes to strike at Zayn. And Zayn is like, I'm not here to bug you. Like, I brought your friends. Because for some reason Lawrence didn't see them. Lawrence is like all bitchy and is like, I don't need your help. Y'all made a mistake coming here. Like, I don't need you. And then he pushes Caitlin and Aphmau onto the ground, like off of the bridge. Well, it wasn't like, no, it was technically off the bridge into like a pit, and then tells Gareth to hide. Don't know why he didn't tell, why do I want to say Cadenza? Fucking Caitlin and Aphmau to hide and just push them. That wouldn't be good for the plot. So then Zayn runs away. He goes back through the portal, and Vincent ends up fighting him. So now those girls are fighting. Jean comes and is like, well, it's not every day the queen comes out of her fortress. Obviously, he doesn't say it like that. I'm saying that for comedic effect, because I'm trying to make this entertaining. And then Shad walks over and starts threatening Lawrence, and then Aphmau and Caitlin pop their little heads up from the hole that they were pushed in, because they were not informed to hide, because they don't know what's happening. Aphmau and Shad make eye contact. Oh my God. Lawrence tells them to run, and then Shad is like, Irene is mine, go take care of Lawrence, talking to Jean. So Jean goes after Lawrence. Then everyone makes it out of the Nether, and then Aphmau tells them to put a shield. Vincent tells Haley to put up the shield. because I don't know why Haley didn't hear her. So he turns his back to Zayn, and then Zayn jumps and runs away. And then Vincent notices this and does nothing about it. Zayn is a menace to society, and Vincent, you are not a part of keeping the shield up. It is Haley and Chad. What? Not playing the blame game here, but I'm also playing the blame game. So Shad comes out of the Nether portal and just demolishes the barrier in one go. And then he teases Aphmau. Like, okay, imagine being in Aphmau's shoes right now. Like, you just learned from an enemy that your ex-lover, your dead ex-lover, is back as your mortal nemesis, and now you have the knowledge that you need to kill him at some point, like that your destiny is like that you will fight, like that is your destiny, you always end up fighting. You're now seeing him like in the full light, and this is like all processing. This image, I don't know if you can see it, but it is Aphmau's reaction of seeing Shad, like close up and personal. Imagine that. I can't imagine that because I don't have a dead ex-lover that will come back and be my mortal nemesis, but like never say never, I guess. Aphmau's mad and yelling at him, and then they're like fighting back and forth, and then Shad is like, he pauses during their fight and goes, "A little girl? I can sense her." Dare I say, bringing Elena, who's connected to the Nether, who Hyria called evil multiple times last season, to a trip where you're going into the Nether while she has Shad's relic, wasn't the best idea. Wasn't the smartest idea. Aphmau's trying to be a better mom, I get it, but like, come on, that wasn't that good. Let's be real here. That was a fat L on her end. Like, you brought your only weakness to this dangerous mission. Aphmau runs up and they clash swords, and he goes, "You bring my daughter to me with my relic." And then he pushes her on the ground, he runs back into the Nether portal, and then the Nether portal disappears. That was 2 episodes right there. Episode 3. So it cut back to Lawrence and Jean fighting. Jean knocks Lawrence onto the ground. Xenix appears out of nowhere, runs up and knocks Jean to the ground. Lawrence and Xenix fight, and Xenix is like, "I was out killing random Shadow Knights, and then I heard your bitch ass getting beat up, so I came to, help you." And then Lawrence is like, "We have to stay as a unit, we can't just kill to kill." And he's like, "Well, boo fucking who?" Lawrence then threatens Xenix, and he's like, "Whatever," and walks off. Dimitri and Nekaway are hanging out with the babies. Leona's like, "All right, girls, come on, we're gonna go shopping." So Leona, Sir Leoshant, and the little girls go shopping. And then Caitlin, before they go, tell Leona and Leoshant to take extra care of Elena because Shad is out to get her. So Haley comes over and tells Caitlin and Aphmau that the Nether portal is completely gone. Like, there's no magic residue, like there's no sign that there even was a Nether portal there whatsoever at all. So Leona and Leoshant and the girls go and get some cake, and we get a Leoshant face reveal. Obviously, it's not as dramatic as it's not as dramatic as Garth's face reveal because we haven't had as much like emotional connection to Leoshant. I love Leoshant. He's one of my favorite characters. I also love his name. It's so random that his name is Leoshant. He has like such like this medieval name, and no one else really does. So apparently he's on something called the Dragon Ward, which I will explain what that is later. But all the villagers are like constantly talking about him because he's a part of the Shadow Ward, and he is like so popular, but not in a good way. Everyone knows he's like from Tula, and so everyone kind of talks trash about how he's from Tula, and he hears people talking trash about him. And Leona's like, that's really rude. And then those people are like, well, we don't care. And then Leona's like, oh, I'm so sorry this is happening. And Leoshant's like, don't worry, it always happens. Leoshant is like men in this series have always been written very questionably, but the new men introduced in this series are icons, queens, and legends. Garth POV, and he goes to Caitlin and says how he's still concerned about Leoshant and how he shouldn't be on the Dragon Ward. And he says that it's dangerous also that he's so close to Aphmau. Now, let me explain the Dragon Ward. So the Dragon Ward is basically a group of fighters, guards, whatever, that Caitlin has collected and have come together that she deems like the most trustworthy and like reliable in the entire region. and Leo Shant is on there. And then it's kind of like the Jury of 9, but don't tell that to Caitlyn, because Caitlyn gets mad when you say it's like the Jury of 9, because she was on the Jury of 9, and we all know how the Jury of 9 ended. Terribly. Caitlyn gets mad when people say that, aka she gets mad at Garth because Garth makes the comparison. So the members are Caitlyn, the Fire Fist, Azura, the Valor, callback to Azura, haven't seen her in like a season, Gale, the Iron Soul, love Gale, hated him first season, love him second season, Lowell, the Umberclaw, love Lowell, we do not see him at all this season, which is a real shame. I do like Lowell. And then Leo Shant, the Devout Blade. So then Azura arrives because Caitlyn is like, okay, I'm coming on this journey with you and Aphmau. She like says that to Garth. And Garth is like, we don't need you. And then she's like, no, you need me. And he's like, okay. So Azura enters and she's like, hey, Caitlyn. And then she sees Garth and she's like, Garth? Oh my gosh. Let's remember this. Garth was gone for 15 and a half years. I'm guessing Garth is around 25. Azura would be the same age because they went to the Guard Training Academy at the same time. But let's assume Azura's like, I don't know, 23? I don't know. Plus 15, which is 38. We add 3 because it's been 3 years since that season. She would be like 41. I don't think anyone realizes how old these characters are now. Not that people in their 40s are old. I'm just saying they're no longer in their 20s. So Azura's over here acting like a 20-year-old fangirl when she's actually a 41-year-old woman. Also, you haven't seen him in like 18 years. So Aphmau, Caitlyn, and Garth and the girls go to Emmeline to ask about Zayn's glowy orb thing, essence, whatever. She fangirls over Aphmau because of course she does. Like, girl, you've known her for years. Y'all have been friends for years. Why are you still fangirling over Aphmau? You definitely see her almost every day. You both live in Phoenix Drop. I was a deemed goddess, and my friend fangirled over me every time I saw her. I would get mad. However, I am not a deemed goddess that has friends fangirling over her, so what do I know? All I know is I would be annoyed by that. Emmeline says that she hasn't been able to figure out anything about Zayn's glow orb essence, whatever. And then Emmeline is like, a lot of books have been burned, but you were lovers, so it should come back to you. I'm not saying Aphmau and Zayn were lovers. I'm saying Shad and Irene were lovers, and they know it's like related to Shad somehow. A fairy appears, like a little sprite, a little fairy appears outside of the window, and it is a messenger fairy from Zoe, and it has a projection message like Star Wars. Basically, she's like, Aphmau, I need you, you're my only hope. Like, obviously it's not that, but she's talking about the Heart of Darkness. Remember the Heart of Darkness? Throwback to season 1. If you do not remember what the Heart of Darkness was, it was like around season 1 episode 50s when Zayn was visiting Phoenix Drop. He took over that house, and when he left, they went into the house and they found this weird cellar thing, and it had the Heart of Darkness in it. Apparently it stopped beating like 2.5 years ago, and it's reactivated now. I don't know what happened 2.5 years ago that would make it deactivate. It wouldn't be Elena's birth. She's 3. Beats me. But it reactivated now, and it's asking for Irene, which obviously it reactivated because Shad has entered the realm. Episode 4, Dante's brother. So it opens up with Zayn running around and guards behind him, and he's panting, but not like in the annoying way that I complain about when Aphmau pants, because I hate the way Aphmau pants with a strong passion. I talk about it quite often. Don't like when Minecraft role players do it in general, specifically because they're not normally voice actors. Now, I hope I've never done that, because then I'd be the world's fattest hypocrite, because it is one of my biggest pet peeves, but I don't think I have. They kind of lose him, and then a guard's like, I think he went that way, and then they leave, and then he somehow ended up in a tree. No clue how he did that. I guess he has cat powers now. Then complains about how Caitlyn's in charge of an elite group and how it must be the Jury of 9, and then he complains more, and then he heads to Phoenix Drop. Would Zayn know there's no longer a Jury of 9? No, he wouldn't know there's no longer a Jury of 9, because he was evaporated before they talked about the Jury of 9 being gone. I guess that is a fair conclusion for him to come to. Caitlyn and Leo Shant ask what is the Heart of Darkness? Because they have no clue what the Heart of Darkness is. And Aphma's like, it is definitely one of the scariest things I've ever stumbled upon ever in my entire life, which, fair. This season's a lot about going back to like season 1 and fixing a lot of the plot holes there. It is something that's really common and it happens a lot. And honestly, I really admire that they're doing that, because obviously season 1 was more laid back, and then season 2 was less laid back, and then season 3 is like a full-on TV series. So Aphmau says that they need to head to the Yggdrasil forest, and then Garth is like, we need someone to take us to the forest because we don't know where the forest is. And then Levin is like, oh, damn it, I slept in. Malachi's gonna be so mad that I'm missing council work duties. And then Aphmau and Garth look at each other and they're like, oh my god, perfect. Please take us to the Yggdrasil forest. And he's like, all right, cool. So the group is Aphmau, Leoshant, the girls, Levin, and Gareth. Did I say Caitlin? Caitlin's there too. I don't know if I said her name or not, but she's there. So before they leave, Aphmau goes to tell Dante their course of action, and he's like, KK, but wait, did you see Jean when you were in the Nether? And Aphmau's like, I think so, but why do you want to see him after bad things he did to you? Which, like, a little recap on what happened between Dante and Jean is Jean was in love with their lord's daughter. The daughter did not love her back, so Jean went to go change her memory, and then Jean got caught by the lord, and then he got sentenced to death, came back as a Shadow Knight, killed the lord, and erased everyone's memory of Dante. And he says, I'm going to leave you to rot. No one here is going to remember you, not even our mother or father. So now you wander this world alone. Someone needs to remember. Powerful stuff. But then Dante reveals that it was his fault that Jean was killed. Dante tells us that he actually snitched to the Lord that Jean was going to change the memory of the Lord's daughter. And when he was getting sentenced, when Jean was getting sentenced by a judge or lord or whatever, whoever that was reveals that Dante snitched on him. And that's how he knows. So now he has this thing about loyalty where he always has to be loyal because he was disloyal to his brother once and he just never can be disloyal again. So that's why he was asking about his brother. And then Aphmau's like, I can always trust you, and then gives him a hot girl pep talk. Everyone needs a hot girl pep talk. So the gang head to the boat and they set sail. Aphmau says the Dragon Ward members are heading to Phoenix Drop to guard the glowy orb essence thing. We will talk about later. And then we cut to Zoe, and the physical form of Shadow Lord's heart is Shad. Shocker. It's Aaron's body. Episode 5. Heart of Darkness. So Aphmau telling the kids a story, and also including Levin. Caitlin is iconically seasick. Is it an adventure on a boat? If Caitlin isn't seasick, no, because Caitlin's always seasick. Iconic. Aphmau reveals that they've been on the boat for about a week now, and she kind of talks about how she is scared to learn more about Irene, because she's like, what if I remember who I was and forget who I am? Powerful quote. Oh my god, powerful quote. They get to land and Zoe has a little makeover, ooh la la. But it's like, I'm confused because I thought, okay, so I'm confused because like Zoe obviously was banished from the Yggdrasil forest for using magics. But she has like a barrier, I guess, that protects her when she walks through the forest, because I guess other elves don't. Because she says, stay with me in my barrier so you don't get lost and taken in by the forest. So she's like, I guess, a barrier that protects her from the forest, so she can go through the forest. But like, well, I'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. Anyways, they make it to the village, and Zoe takes the kiddos, a safe place to nap. An elf runs into the center of the town. His name is Gabriel. He runs into the center of the town and is preaching about how the forest is mad that there's outsiders in the village, and how it took one of them, aka one of the villagers, as like a sacrifice. Forests are so dramatic in this world. Gabriel reveals that the outsider is Zoe, that the forest is mad that Zoe is here and keeps bringing in all these people. Which, it's like, valid. I would get mad if people kept bringing people to my house that I didn't know. I guess I'm saying, like, the forest is the forest's house. Aphmau then speaks up and takes credit for why they are there, and he's like, what makes you so tough? And she's like, well, I'm Lady Aphmau, and he's like, well, that means nothing to me. And then she's like, well, I also go by Lady Irene. And he's like, Irene or not, this is not your forest. This is my forest. One of our elves was taken by the forest. Her name is Rose, which is one of Levin's friends when he was a kid, because remember, he grew up in the Yggdrasil forest. And then Caitlin comes in and is like, break it up, break it up. They were kind of like arguing, but she was acting like it was a verbal massacre. Aphmau was like, follow me and we can discuss this in private. And he's like, no, you're following me, and we're going to discuss this in private. So now they're in this private space. And he's like, dude, do you know who I am? And Aphmau's like, no. And he's like, I'm Zoe's ex-husband, and I'm on the elf council, and I'm actually the head guard of the Yggdrasil forest. But he says it wrong. He says Yggdrasil wrong. Everyone says Yggdrasil wrong. Not one person says it the same. I'm saying it Yggdrasil because that's how Aphmau says it. I'm assuming her pronunciation's correct, unless his pronunciation's correct, because he is a villager of the Yggdrasil forest. But also Zoe says it different than he does. I don't remember how they say it. All I know is that everyone says it differently. He tells us why Zoe was banished, which I was kind of talking about earlier, and then was like, wait, I need to save this for when I'm supposed to talk about this. She discovered that she could use magic. Only elves on the council could use magic, so she kept using them, and then it angered the forest, and then they banished her. And I'm pretty sure she also stole a relic. Like, I'm 90% sure she also stole a relic, and boom, that's the recap. He goes on to talk about how she keeps coming back and doing magic and leaving and coming back, and it's making the forest really mad. He's like, I love her, and she keeps leaving and bringing back people that she cares about more. And apparently the Heart of Darkness is the reason the forest is mad. So it's mad at Zoe because, one, Zoe keeps coming back and forth and bringing people, but also the Heart of Darkness is the main culprit. He just likes to blame things on Zoe. That sounds like my parents' divorce. He says that he will never forgive Aphmau from taking his wife from her. But dude, you banished her. You're the reason she left. The council banished her. You are the one that kicked her out. Aphmau did not keep her from you. Also, where is this woman's child? She has a child. I think she talked about, was it season 1? I think it was season 1, because I was talking about how annoyed I was at the whole thing, because I just didn't like Zoe's character season 1. I don't remember, but she does have a kid, and that's never brought up. They go to Zoe's house, and she's like, prepare yourselves. And so Garth is like, I'm gonna stand outside and keep guard here. So Aphmau and Zoe go upstairs, and now they're on a roof. And so Aphmau and Shad look at each other, and Aphmau's like, dude, that isn't Aaron, because Zoe was like, I think it's Aaron, and she was like, that's not Aaron, that's Shad. That's not Aaron. Stop saying it's Aaron. So Shad is then like, Irene, why? And he just keeps saying, Irene, why? Irene, why? And then I wrote, his body starts disappearing, and then it cuts to Zayn, and his body starts disappearing, and I don't know what I mean by Zayn's body disappearing. I can understand why Shad's body would be disappearing, because it doesn't fully disappear, it starts disappearing. But I don't remember why what was Zayn doing? I don't remember. I do not remember. Let's move on. Episode 6, A Talk with Shad. So it opens with a cute shot of Phoenix Drop, because when is it? They're not a cute shot of Phoenix Drop. But then the cuteness is ruined by Zayn walking in to Phoenix Drop. He sees Dante and is like, oh, I don't want to deal with guards. I should kill him. I should kill him. That's the obvious solution. Dante starts complaining about how he like doesn't know who's new and who isn't, because there's so many new people here. He literally just doesn't know who anyone was. And then Zayn's like, oh, well, the shadow form is making me so compulsive. I actually forgot how good of a manipulator I am. I'm actually the best manipulator there is. How could I forget? Good for you. Good for you for remembering, Zayn. How good of a manipulator you are. Then he has a clothes change and walks into the plaza. So we get a Zayn perspective. Okay, wait. Also, Zayn talks about, I don't think it was here. It was definitely later, but I don't remember if I wrote this down in my leader notes, that Shadow Knight armor is like a shell. It's not armor. It is a shell. Like a turtle has a shell. It is a shell. How weird is that? How weird is that? I was like, what the hell? When he said that, I was like, what is going on right now? That does make the most sense because every Shadow Knight has the same armor, and obviously they don't have a blacksmith down there. So we get a Zayn POV, and he goes up and talks to Brendan, and Brendan's like, oh hey, I'm Brendan, I'm the lord of this village. And Zayn's like, no you're not, Aphmau is. And he's like, okay, you caught me, no I'm not. Zayn's like, do you know where Aphmau is? And then he was like, well, Aphmau's everywhere, duh. No, he's saying everywhere isn't like she's just constantly moving around. And he's like, well, where is she most likely to be? Because, you know, this man wants his fragment back because she stole it from him. And he was like, I don't know, you'd have to check the Irene statue. That's the like place she probably is the most in this village. And then Brendan's like, wait, do I know you from somewhere? Because Brendan does know what Zayn looks like. Brendan met Zayn in season 1 back when Kiki was like in love with him for some reason. Remember that? I remember. But then he like gets distracted and walks away. So Zayn then goes up to Leona, which if you remember, Leona and Zayn have a connection, but they're not like in the connection is that Zayn just had a pendant, an old wolf tribe pendant, and gave it to Kiki, and then Kiki pricked her finger and Leona was born. And obviously it's not Zayn because Leona is a werewolf and Zayn is not a werewolf. It's just like interesting to see them interact. And wasn't there talk of the werewolf being bowled off? And it's like, well, how would you even know that? I don't think there was. I might be making that up, but there pretty much could be. There could have been talk about that. I don't know. She like sniffs him and she's like, you smell like burning. And he's like, get away from me. So then he sees Kenmer, which does he know? He knows who Kenmer is, but he follows Kenmer into Donna's shop because Donna has a shop now. And Kenmer is just like, he's talking about like, oh, Emmy's working on this new, I hate her nickname. I don't know why, I can't explain it. He's like, Emmy's working on this new research with this glowy orb thing that Aphmau gave her. And, you know, I just want to give her something in return to like, because she's doing such a good job and she's working so hard. I just want to give her something. And then Donna's like, oh, that's so cute of you. And then Kenmer goes back to his house and Zayn follows him to his house and Emmeline's there and he's like, I'm gonna go to Metelli and get you noodles. I will be right back. So then he leaves, and then once Kenmer leaves, Zayn knocks on the door. He's like, hello, do you want to talk about our Lord and Savior, Lady Irene? And Emmeline's like, yes, I want to talk about our Lord and Savior, Irene. It was like almost verbatim that. Was it exactly that? No. Was it almost exactly like that? Yes sirree. Cuts back to the forest and Levin goes up to Garth, and then like Garth is like complaining about his own problems, and Levin's like, and then Levin walks away with his friend Rocco, who is the brother of the elf that was taken by the forest. And he's like, I guess we have to figure this out by ourselves, because Garth was just like bitching, I guess, the entire time. So he's like, I guess we have to deal with this ourselves. And then they walk away. So now we go back to Aphmau and Shad, and Zoe has a barrier, and she's like, I have a barrier, so Shad can't use any magic if he has magic. Aphmau is like, can you leave? And she's like, you want me to leave? And then she's like, yeah, can you go? And she's like, why? And she's like, well, I think Shad's only going to talk if it's me. He's not going to want to say anything if you're here. So leave. And then she's like, oh, okay. And then she leaves. Then she turns around and Shad's like, I literally just heard everything you said. And she's like, good. I wanted you to hear everything I just said. Aphmau asks who he is, and it's like, dude, obviously it's Shad. It looks just like him. And he's like, how could you forget me? How could you forget who I am, Irene? And Aphmau's like, well, I'm not Irene. And he's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a motherfucking duck. You are Lady Irene. Obviously, you didn't say it like that. I'm just saying it like that. Because if I were him, that's how I would say it. But I'm not him. I'm speaking for him. Let's continue. And he's like, how could you forget that day? And Aphmau's like, what day? And he's like, oh my god, you can't be serious right now. So then we get a cut to a circle of all of the divine warriors, and this is when Irene is giving all the divine warriors their relics. So she's like handing them out one by one, and she's talking about how they need these relics and they need to help her hold off the emptiness. And everyone's like, it would be an honor to hold off the emptiness with you, Irene. It would be an honor to work with you, Irene. And she was like, the only cost of this is you have immortality. Then Shad is like, this relic will give us powers to hold back the emptiness. And she's like, yes. And he's like, well, what does that make us? She's like, the divine warriors. I don't know why, I just thought that was funny. All of them agree and say they would be honored to help protect the realm with Irene. Irene is like, Shad, I'm gonna give you the destroyer relic. She says, where there is light, there must be dark. You know, we got that yin and yang, and I trust no one else with this power but you. And then he is like, I'm honored. And then we cut back to Shad now. He was like, if I knew what this relic did, I would have never agreed to this. And then he gets mad and disappears. Here's my thing. It is called a destroyer relic, and she did say where there is light, there must be dark. But also, I literally explained it into the detail that she explained it to him. And I'm just like, if you're giving someone this much responsibility, I feel there should be more context into what you are giving them than the vague shit that she said to him. I mean, it's implied that it's not a good thing. But also, I mean, obviously there must be balance in the world and whatever, but you are like actively making something dark. Does the darkness being there hold off the emptiness, or are you just trying to create a different evil? I don't get the prerogative of this, but what do I know? Let's continue. So we go back to Phoenix Drop, and Kenmure goes back to his house, and uh-oh, it's trashed, and Dante is there and is like, Kemelin? Emmeline is missing. Episode 7, Irene's mission. So Aphmau's freaking out about Shad disappearing, and then everyone runs up and is like, what's going on? What's going on? And she's like, Shad's gone. And Aphmau's like, I think it was like a fragment of a memory. And she's like, but I don't know where it went. So they all go running around looking for it. They go to look for like Elena, because they're like, oh my god, maybe it went to go like to Elena, like maybe it sensed Elena and somehow broke out of Zoe's barrier. No, everyone's fine. Leo Shant's like, yo, is everything okay? Because he's with the girls. And then Garth's like, yeah, everything's fine. Listen, Garth, I know you don't like him, but he's literally guarding these little girls, and you are running there to see if she's okay. You should tell him why you don't think she's okay. You should tell him that there's this, like, the heart of darkness. Like, he could see it and be like, whoa, what is this? And pick it up and expose her to it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So Elena is fine, and Aphmau is looking for Levin, but she gets sidetracked by Gabriel talking shit in Town Square again, because when is he not talking shit in the Town Square, talking smack? So he's talking smack about how Rocco, which is Levin's friend, I think I said that earlier, Rocco and Levin went into the forest to go find Rose, and how it's dumb and stupid because the forest chose her, so they chose her for a reason, and they should not question the forest. The forest should never be questioned. While lecturing, he turns around, Rocco, Levin, and Rose, and they're back and they're all fine. Well, Rose isn't like 100% fine, but she's back, so technically, I mean, she's fine in that sense. So Levin goes on a whole monologue about how they had to get Rose back. Then he calls Zoe his other mother, which I find funny because obviously she kind of is their mom. But then he says, us lords, but he is not a lord. He was a lord for maybe 1 year. Gabriel is like, all right, I still don't like outsiders. But thank you, Levin, for saving Rose. But I feel like Levin, he's been there most of his life. Like, he was there from ages 3 to 18. And what is he now, 21? He's a resident. He's a resident of that place, man. Anyways, he says that the elder has requested to see Aphmau. So we cut to a Zayn POV, and he has Emmeline in a cave and is like, if you're a good girl, I'll let you go. And she's like, if you want this fragment, I'll never give it to you. He's like, well, at first, I just wanted the fragment and I was going to kill you, but then I realized you have something important to me. Information. I love information. I don't know what he means by that, because Emmeline knows jack shit about this thing. Like, if she knew something about the fragment, I'd get wanting to keep her hostage, but she doesn't know anything about it. She knows nothing about the fragment. And she says this multiple times. He's just making her read books. I hate this subplot. He lets her out of her handcuffs and is like, I don't like my scholars working in poor conditions. And she's like, what's stopping me from leaving? And he's like, well, I'll just like go and kill your husband if you try and leave. So, I mean, that's up to you. If you want a murdered husband, I'm fine with that. And then she's like, uh-oh, no, I do not want that. So then we go back to the forest, and Zoe leaves her at the entrance of the elder of the Yggdrasil forest. And then the elder tells her that he knows everything that's happened with the Heart of Darkness, because if it happens in the Yggdrasil forest, you know his little nosy butt. He knows it. He knows it. He says that it can't do anything right now, and it's just hiding in the shadows because it literally has no power to do anything to anyone, so everyone is safe. But he summoned her because he wants to talk about Shad the Destroyer, not Shad the fragment of memories. He says that Shad is a threat to everyone, bitch, obviously. He says that his presence has brought back the emptiness. Whenever they talk about the emptiness, I think about the darkness from the Fairly Odd Parents, you know, the trilogy with Kiss. This was actually fairies. Do you remember that? I remember that. It just reminds me of that. I don't know why. He tells Aphmau that she needs to gather all the divine warriors. Then we cut to the Nether, and Shad tells Jean that he wants that fragment back and that he needs to go get it back for him. So that's the end of the episode. Episode 8, Baby Elena's Power. So Aphmau is playing with her kids, and then Caitlin comes over and starts chatting, and Caitlin says that Leo Shaw is freaking out because he's not with the girls, and it's stressing him out because he just wants to like make sure they're okay because he's not being kept in the loop. Aphmau tells Caitlin about the elders telling her to find the divine warriors, and she says like, since all the divine warriors are gone, we not only need to find their relics, we do need to like find the people that are descendants of the divine warriors. Then Elena and Lilith scream, and a wither rose has appeared. Then we cut back to Emmeline and Zayn, and he's threatening her because of course he is, and she's just like, bro, I'm only one person. If you want me to go faster, why don't you help? And he's like, bitch, I'm gonna cut you. Shut up. And she was like, okay. I do not get why Zayn kept her. She doesn't have information on it. She's a scholar of Irene, not Shadow Knights, which she tells him. Basically, the reason he wants this fragment is because he can't be a like full Shadow Knight. He's a premature Shadow Knight. Throwback. Basically, he's stuck as a premature Shadow Knight because he can't reach his full potential the normal way, because the normal way is having to like kill a lord or the last person you served under, but Zayn serves to nobody, and the closest thing he could get to that would be his dad, and no one knows where his dad is. The next best thing is him taking this essence to become at his full power, full potential. Oh, the sun just came out. Full power, full potential, and he also wants to be the Shadow Lord. And he's like real butthurt that he was not chosen for his body to be a vessel for the Shadow Lord. He's real butthurt about that. So we go back to the forest, and the elder says that Elena's relic has been activated because Shad is now becoming a part of this world, this realm. And then he gives her a potion and is like, so like this won't make what she's going through go away, but it'll slow it down. You should give it to her when the power starts to consume her, and maybe it won't. Maybe it'll keep her from being evil. I don't know. Like, if I was Aphmau, I honestly would be terrified for my child, because there's this constant impending doom that Elena is going to be evil and consumed by power. All the old people are it's only the old people. All the old people, aka this elder and Hyria, are telling her that your child is actually gonna be really evil, like really, really evil. Maybe not. Maybe if you raise her properly, but she's gonna be really evil. They're treating this like it's a terminal illness. He tells her that since Aphmau is a relic holder, maybe if she helps her from a young age, she'll be okay. But he doesn't know. So Aphmau leaves, and it's just like, dang, why is this happening? And it's like, girl, he just told you why this is happening. Giant nether portal appears, and Jean walks out with a bunch of Shadow Knights following him. A bunch of Shadow Knights. And then we go to Zayn, and he freaks out because he can feel the portal spawning and all of the Shadow Knights. coming because other Shadow Knights can like tell when other Shadow Knights are around. Already been established. Then we go back to the forest and Aphmau talks to Levin, Caitlyn, and Gareth kind of about everything the elders been saying to her. And Aphmau decides that they are going to go to the capital to talk to that's Zoe. Talk to Travis, because remember, Travis is a descendant of Enki, one of the divine warriors. Because obviously he's not with Aphmau right now. He relieved himself of being guard so he could focus on the demon warlock. We cut back to some village and it's on fire and a bunch of people are dead. Also, Jean has blue eyes and full Shadow Knights have red eyes. Like, I think it's only premature Shadow Knights that don't have red eyes. Like when they're in their Shadow Knight form, they have red eyes. But like, if you remember last season when when Lawrence was in his Shadow Knight form, he had red eyes, but when he wasn't in his Shadow Knight form, he had his normal eyes. But Jean just always has blue eyes, and Vincent's a full-time Shadow Knight. He's full-time. He's on the clock, and he's got red eyes. So I don't know what's up with that. Anyways, episode 9, Aphmau's Judgment. So everyone is back on the boat, and they're heading to the capital. Levin burns his hand on a pot. And he's like, Mom, can you heal me with your healing magics? And Aphmau's like, oh. And he's like, oh, did you not get your magic back yet? And then it's revealed, / we learn, I don't know, that Aphmau actually doesn't have her magical powers, and that when Elena was born, she lost them. She lost her healing powers. It's probably because all those healing powers went to recovering from giving childbirth. We never learn about that. So Levin finally brings up about him being a descendant of Irene, because if you remember in season 1, when Levin got kidnapped by Xenix, his mom talked to Aphmau about how his dad was a descendant of Irene, meaning he was a descendant of Irene, meaning he would always be in danger. So Levin is like, well, you are related to Irene / our Irene. I'm actually related to Irene. You think I have magical powers or something? And she's like, no, I don't think that's how that works. Aphmau tells him to go take a nap, and he goes to take a nap. Now they're at the dinner table, and Garth is like, where are the girls? And Aphmau's like, oh, they had an early dinner, and they went to sleep. And he's like, they went to bed pretty easy. And he's like, it sucks that Levin's not here to eat his food. He did such a good job. And then Aphmau's like, oh, he didn't make it. Sir Leoshant made it. Because Levin went to go take a nap. And Garth's like, what? And then Caitlyn is like, yo, this shit's delicious. And Garth is like, wait guys, so the girls like went to bed really easy and early. Like they don't go to bed this early. Caitlyn's like, what are you implying? And he's like, well, I'm not implying anything. I'm just not gonna eat the food. And then he walks off. And then Leoshant is like, is it because I added too many spices? Is that why he didn't like it? Like, is it too spicy? Like, I get sometimes that can't be the healthiest, but it does have vegetables in it. And Caitlyn's like, no, that's not why, Leoshant. That's not why. Just ignore him. Poor Leoshant. Poor Leoshant. I love Leoshant. So later it cuts to Caitlyn. A Caitlyn POV. Never had a Caitlyn POV before. A lot of different POVs this season. Garth is looking out at the sea all butthurt. And Caitlyn is like, she's like, what are you doing? And Garth talks about his concern for Aphmau and the girls and how they'll never have a place in this world, not in like an evil way, in a like, well, Elena's always going to be a danger to herself, someone's always going to be harassing Aphmau. It's like they'll just never find peace, is kind of what he's saying. Does that make sense? Makes sense to me, so it has to make sense to you because you're not here to say it doesn't make sense. Caitlyn talks about how she put together the Dragon Lord and how like everyone on there she trusts, and how it like took a while for her to trust people. I don't fucking know. She was just talking about how it was really hard to put it together. I get you don't like Leoshant because he's from Tula, but I trust him. Like that's why I put him on the Dragon Lord. Garth is like you don't get it. It's not getting through your head. It's not just because I don't like him because he's from Tula. Like, well, obviously he doesn't like him from Tula, but it's because his parents were held hostage by Tula. Like, remember in season 2, at the end of season 2, when that lady got beheaded? That was my favorite episode, when Ivy got beheaded. That was so funny. Sorry, sometimes I think about that episode and I'm like, I can't believe that actually happened. Like that is something that happened. Anyways, how his mom was held hostage and how his dad's still being held hostage and they have no clue where his dad is, like, and how like he's being held by the ruler. And then Caitlyn brings up how she used to work for Zayn. She's just like, well, you know exactly why I was loyal to him. And recap, if you don't remember why Caitlyn was loyal to Zayn, is because Zayn was like holding her parents and her brother like against her, and she doesn't know where they are, and she's just like, at least you know where your parents are. And he's like, my whole point is I don't know. He's like, I don't know where my dad is. What are you not understanding? That's my whole point. Don't know if he's alive, Caitlyn. I'm gonna say that's a Caitlyn L right there. Like, I think they're both in the same boat of Caitlyn doesn't know where her entire family is. She doesn't know if they're dead or alive. Garth doesn't know if his dad is dead or alive, but Garth does kind of know where he is, so I do understand Caitlyn's point, but also, come on, Caitlyn, come on. And then Caitlyn is like, well, if you're gonna like keep bitching and moaning about it, why don't you just go and try and find him? And he's like, that is literally what Vlad is doing. And then they start like fighting, like now they're like sword fighting, and then Aphmau throws her sword in the middle of it and is like, y'all stop acting like children. And then they start verbally fighting again, and Garth again talks about how Vlad is in the Tula region and how everyone is out to try and kill Vlad, like everyone in the Tula region's out to kill Vlad, so that's why he doesn't trust Leo Shant, because he, like, a part of him's like, what if Leo Shant's actually here to kill me? Obviously Aphmau, but what about, like, because he's the son of the Lord of Okassis. And then Garth starts talking about how, not Vlad, Leo Shant kind of popped out of nowhere. No one knows anything about his history or his past. And he's like, Caitlyn, you have to admit that's weird, because Caitlyn doesn't know about his past. Garth doesn't know his past. Nobody knows where this boy came from. He just appeared one day and climbed the ranks like crazy. That's just weird. Don't you find that weird? People even from this region can't climb the ranks that highly unless they know somebody. And then Aphmau yells at him. She sides with Caitlyn. She walks away, and poor Leo Shant. Poor Leo Shant was under the deck and heard the entire thing. Bless his soul. We get to the capital, and man, oh man, is that thing huge. It is gorgeous, and it is huge. Leo Shant is like, Aphmau, can I talk to you in private? And he's like, Aphmau, I don't think I can be the guards to the girls anymore. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I just like don't think I can do it. And she's like, is that what you really want? And he's like, well, no, but yes, it is what I want. And she was, okay, if that's what you want, so be it. You're no longer the guards for the girls. And he's like all sad, and she's like, you're actually my personal guard now. And she was like, and you're going to accompany me to see Travis. Episode 10, The Keeper's Son. We get some cute shots of the village, which Aphmau, Garth, Levin, Caitlyn go into the village, and they run into, oh wait, Levin's over here. They run into Malachi. Then he starts to lecture Levin about how it's not okay that he like just didn't show up and tell anybody where he was. And he was like, well, I just really wanted to hang out with mom. And he's like, all right, cool, valid. I don't know if that's a valid reason, but I guess when your mom's like Irene, maybe that's a valid reason. She moves her mouse like really aggressively in this section, and it does give me motion sickness. I get motion sickness sometime from TV. One time I was watching this Charlie Chaplin film from one of my classes at college. It was the one where he's on like a boat, and he was like an immigrant on a boat, and it made me feel ill, and I had to stop watching it. And I don't get motion sickness normally. Aphmau asks how he's doing, and Malachi says that he hasn't heard from him in a while. Him meaning Travis. That actually everyone in the village is scared of Travis. Princess Travis is up on a hill in his cave all alone, and no one visits him besides Malachi and Levin, and that's barely. So Malachi and Levin walk off, and then the others head towards where Elena and Lilith are, which are like, I don't know, they're somewhere. We get a scene of Jean burning a village. I don't know what village. We later learn he does burn a village down, which I don't know if it was the first village he burned. I don't know if it's the first village he burned down. That is the village that we talk about later, but it's definitely not this one, because this one looks like a swamp village. Aphmau's like, Caitlyn, do you know anything about like Travis, like anything that he'd want? And she's like, why would I know anything about Travis? Like, why are you asking me? Why would I know anything about like Travis and what he likes and what he wants? And she was like, I don't know, it just seems like you would know something. And then she's like, well, I'm actually gonna go talk to the council about Shad's return and the status on Zayn's disappearance. Garth walks in and is like, okay, we're ready. And Aphmau's like, oh, you're not coming with us, you're gonna stay with the girls. And he was like, oh, are you and Caitlyn going? And she's like, oh, no, me and Caitlyn aren't going. And she was like, actually, Leo Shant is coming with me. And he's like, oh, really? Leo Shant? He's going with you? And then she's like, is that okay? And he's like, yes. Yes, that's fine. And then Leo Shant's like picking up on this weird vibe happening, because there is a weird vibe about Aphmau going alone to see Travis, and he's just like, is this Travis guy dangerous? And then Caitlyn starts laughing like a hyena and is like, no. Travis? No, he's not dangerous. But like, if I didn't know the situation and I was Leo Shant, the way they were talking about going on this journey made it sound like it was like a treacherous, dangerous journey. They head up to Princess Travis's cave. It actually picks up from the spot that Travis first like discovered the ruins in. Evidence is putting here. Evidence. The soil is different, but literally the view is exactly the same. I mean, obviously mountains can look the same, and you know, mountains above the village, they're a thing, but it looks almost exactly the same, and you cannot deny that. So Aphmau's like, you remind me a lot of Garth. But I think Leo Shant reminds me personally a lot of Dante, like a young Dante. I don't know why. Like I think it's just because he's like young and sweet and like I wouldn't say naive, but he definitely has Garth characteristics, but also he is his own completely different person. But I personally think he acts a little more like Dante. I don't know. What's your opinions? Do you think he acts like Garth? I don't think he acts like Garth at all. Garth was like really shy and stuff. I don't know. He reminds me more of Dante, a young Dante. And then Leo Shant's like, okay, so like I don't want to assume anything, but does Garth not like me? And it's like he heard that whole conversation and he knows the answer to that question. He's just trying to be nice about it. Poor Leo Shant. Aphmau explains like kind of his situation, that he's from Okage, and that's why Garth just worries a lot about Leo Shant, because his dad is being currently held hostage by Tula. And he was like, oh, I like understand his perspective, but I'm not like that, and I hope he can come to understand that I'm not like that. But I get where he's coming from. Understanding King, we stand Leo Shant here. He asks about Travis and how he must have been an amazing person if he was friends with Aphmau. She's kind of like, well, he wasn't the best with women. And Leo Shant's like, oh, he must have just been really nervous to be around a powerful, strong woman like you. And she was like, no. He was actually just like an ogler of women. He's like, okay, I get it now, I understand. Asks why Princess Travis is in a cave, and Aphmau explains it's because he keeps the demon warlock in check. So they get to the cave and Travis is like, I knew you would come. It's been a long time. Then he turns around and is like, oh my god, wait, Aphmau? And then he goes up and hugs her, and then he's like, oh my gosh, hi, random guy. And then he hugs the random guy and he's like, wait, who's this weirdo? But who did he think was coming? Did he think like Malachi or Levin was coming? Who did he think was coming? Was he just saying that to be mysterious? I don't know. It's never explained. But anyways, he's like, who's this weirdo? And she's like, oh, he's my personal guard. And then he's like, oh, did Garth get sick of you? JK, that man would never get sick of you. And then she's like, oh, you know, him and Caitlyn are back at the Capitol running errands. He's just like, oh, Caitlyn's here? And she's like, yeah, why? And he's like, it doesn't matter. At least you, and you're sweet. And then he gets punched in the face. And he's like, like the good old days. So Aphmau's like, okay, to business. We need to talk about Enki. And he's like, okay, what about Enki? I probably won't be any help. And then she starts to like explain what's happening. And she's like, Shad's back. And he's like, Shad's back? How is Shad back? And Aphmau's like, I don't even know. But he's after Elena. And he's like, well, I don't have the relic. I don't have Enki's relic. So I don't know where it would. Oh, if it's passed down by descendants, I think I know who has it. And then he just goes, are you ready to kill my father? Wild jump that the demon warlock has Enki's relic. Well, no, because, okay, Travis's mom banished him to that realm. So I guess she banished him to that realm with Enki's relic. We go back to Jean, and guess who stumbled across Phoenix Drop? Episode 11, A Demon's Curse. Aphmau was like, what the hell? And then he's like, all right, let's go somewhere and talk in private. No offense, Leo Shant. He's like, no, I understand. Aphmau takes him to a little waterfall that's on the island that apparently her and Aaron would go to a lot. I don't recognize this waterfall. I'm assuming it was just like on their like secret dates, because we do get like a cut scene to when they were there. And at first I was like, is that like going back to season 2? But then it had shaders on, so it wasn't. So I just don't think they showed anything from here, and I forgot what they talked about here. But anyways, that doesn't matter. Aphmau asks why he's all alone on the mountain, and that Levin and Malachi said that they were the only ones that visit him and no one from the village visits him. He says that there was like this little girl who got lost in the woods and an imp approached her and was trying to kill her. So Travis, being like imp patrol, goes to try and kill it, but it was way stronger than any other imp he's encountered before, so he transformed into his demon form to kill it. And then the little girl starts screaming and freaks out, and then everyone in the village started hearing about it and was gossiping about it and called him a monster and like a pariah, so now no one talks to him. But then he was saying how it's like probably one of the best things that's ever happened to him. Love the attitude, Travis. But basically he says this because no one goes to the like that side of the island anymore where all the imps are. He can like kind of roam free and no one's getting hurt by these imps. So he asks Aphmau if she still has the necklace that he gave her like many episodes ago when they were on the Enki's island. Well, Caitlin has it. She's holding some of my stuff. And he's like, okay, well, we're going to need that necklace when we go back there, because they have to go back, to Enki's island to kill the demon warlock. Then we get a cute shots of Phoenix drop with Dante walking around, not a care in the world. We get some like Disney-esque princess music, and we get a Dante POV. Also, okay. This may have been the first time I noticed it, but he is in creative mode. And I did go back and I looked at like past episodes, and Aphmau wasn't in creative mode, but then like as it continued, I think everyone was in creative mode. I don't remember after this scene anyone else being in survival. I could be wrong, maybe I am. This is the first time I noticed creative mode, and after this I noticed like all of it was creative mode, but I also know not all of it was creative mode. He's at the docks and Kwai Cham comes along talking to him, and her goddamn screechy ass disgusting voice, and she's like, why are you so worried? And he kind of explains everything that's going on and how he wishes they had like a magic users like Zoe here, because Emmeline got taken. And guys, okay, hear me out. Where was the Dragon Ward? Was the Dragon Ward not supposed to come? Like, weren't people from the Dragon Ward supposed to come to protect Emmeline from this entire thing happening? I think I forgot to talk about this when Emmeline got kidnapped. But Dragon Ward members were supposed to be there because Aphmau said that Dragon Ward members were going to be there to protect her. I don't know if I'm making that up. I don't know if I wrote that down in my notes wrong, or if she said they should be here or they are going to be here. So she's like, oh, hush, 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 hush. Eat some snacks. But also, Kawaii-chan has magics. I mean, obviously she doesn't have like barrier magics. She doesn't have barrier magics, but she does have magics, so they do have magics. And then he's like, okay, let's start talking about something happy. I feel like this season Kawaii-chan acts more like a child. Like, Kawaii-chan's probably like in her 40s and she's acting like a child. And I'm like, I don't know if it's because like Nekowet's not there, so she can't take care of Nekowet, and maybe that made her be perceived more as an adult. I don't know. I mean, I don't think the Minecraft skin is helping. Like, if you look at it, I don't think that's helping at all. She just acts more like a child. And again, it's also the way she talks with that little whine at the end of her voice. That doesn't help. So we go back to the cave, and Leo Shant is kind of just mucking around. He's waiting for Aphmau and Travis to get back. And Garth appears, and Leo Shant's like, oh, hey, Garth. Aphmau and Travis aren't here right now. They're doing something private. And then he kind of just comes up, and he, like, takes his sword out. And Leo Shant's like, you hate me that much that you want to kill me? And then they start having a sword fight, and Leo Shant's, like, really sad. He's like, why are you doing this, Garth? I'm sorry for whatever I did to you. Caitlin comes up and runs and blocks Garth's blade when he's about to kill Leo Shant. And then they start fighting, and then Caitlin starts yelling at Garth, but then Garth isn't responding. And then Aphmau and Travis come back in, and Travis throws a sword at it, and it is revealed to be an imp the entire time. Caitlin turns around and thanks Travis, and then he starts flirting with her, and Aphmau is like, girl, chill. Caitlin's like, what? No, we weren't flirting. What are you talking about? we weren't doing that. Leo Shant's confused as hell because he's never had an encounter with an imp before. So Aphmau talks about how like imps can sense your loved ones and use that against you. So it's like we get a flashback to when Aaron was an imp, or well, he wasn't an imp was pretending to be Aaron. Throwback. And there was like this sad music, and honestly at the time I did think the flashback was really funny. Don't ask me why, okay? I wrote in my notes, I thought it was funny. I'm a vouch by my own words. I stand by it, I guess. And then Aphmau tells Caitlyn everything that her and Travis just talked about. It cuts back to Phoenix Drop, and Dante is walking to his house, and Kawaii-chan's like, oh my god, Dante, you're not gonna guess who's here. And then they go upstairs, and Jean, I'm pointing to Jean. Jean's up here. Jean is there, and Kawaii-chan's like, look, your brother's here. We haven't seen him in so long. And Dante's like, what? And he's just like, hi, brother. And him and Kawaii-chan both have a little twinkle in their eye. Little twinkle. Got glitter stuck up in there. End of episode. Episode 12. A warm welcome. Aphmau, Caitlyn, and Travis go to the Enki village. Travis is like, it's changed so much. And Caitlyn and Aphmau are like, what are you talking about? And he's like, look, there's like more snow here than usual. That's weird. And they're like, okay. And he's like, doesn't this place kind of remind you of Phoenix Drop? Like, it's so small and so quaint. And Aphmau's like, when was the last time you were at Phoenix Drop? And he's like, I don't know. It's been a while. And Aphmau's like, it's more prosperous than Scales Wind right now. And Caitlyn's like, wow, you really were out of the loop. And he was like, I'm sorry that I was too busy fighting evil imps to worry about the prosperity of Phoenix Drop. And Caitlyn, if you're going to make fun of me, you could have visited. You could have visited me up in my Princess Little Mountain. And then Caitlyn's like, Travis, we talked about this. What did you talk about? What was talked about? We don't really learn. Like, they keep saying this the entire time, and it's like hinted at that there was some sort of relationship the entire season, but nothing is ever said about it that I remember of. And I'm pretty sure in my, like, I recently watched the last like 5 episodes, and not mentioned. They just hang out a lot. And then Aphmau's like, what are you guys talking about? And Caitlyn's like, nothing. And Travis is like, yeah, nothing. So they wander around for the village a bit, and then one of the villagers is like, oh, hey, you're new. We don't get visitors around here that often. And then they look at Travis, and they're like, oh, it's the vanished son. What the hell are you doing back here? And then he starts talking about how the village is so much better and so much prosperous without Travis there. Now that Travis is gone, it's thriving. They are thriving. Aphmau and Caitlyn yell at the guy, and he walks away. We go back to the brothers and Kawaii-chan, and she goes on and talks about how she has known Jean just as long as she's known Dante. She's like, oh my god, we go way back, way back, way back, Dante. Don't you remember? I met him when I met you. What is happening right now? What is happening? And Jean's just like, Kawaii-chan, can you just like get us some tea or something? And then Kawaii-chan's like, okay. And then he's like, actually, scratch that. Dante's gonna take me on a tour around town. And then she's like, okay. And Dante's like, okay. So they go back to the boat because they left the necklace on the boat. And guess who pops out of the boat? They hear a noise. It's Elena. Elena is on the boat. The children yearn. They yearn for Enki Island. Do you remember? Dimitri and Nekawet also snuck on. They yearn for the island. They decide that it's safer for her to join them on their journey to the demon warlock because they're like, well, he already knows she's fucking here. So we go back to the boys, and Dante and Jean are walking around the village. And everyone in the village is like, oh my god, Jean. Oh my god, hi, Jean. Jean. Hi, Jean. And Dante's like, what the fuck is going on right now? Jean's like, I want Zayn. Where is he? And Dante's like, what are you talking about? Zayn is not here. And he's like, no, I can sense Zayn is here. Zayn has been here recently. Like, he's around here. I can sense that he's around here. Where is he? And Dante's like, he's not here. Like, I am not lying to you. And he's like, well, I know he's here, and I'm not going to leave until you give him to me. And then he's like, the last time Zayn was here was weeks ago, and then we went to the Nether, and then he was at Brightport, and then he escaped, and no one has seen him since. And Gina's like, nuh-uh, I can tell you're lying to me. And Dante's like, why would I be lying to you? I haven't seen him. So we go back to the Enki Island where Aphmau, Caitlyn, and Travis and Elena are, and they're trying to open the portal. Everyone's trying, and it's really, really hard. And then Caitlyn starts fighting with Travis, and Aphmau's like trying to break up the fight. And then Elena opens the portal, and everyone's like, what the fuck? Episode 13. Family matters. I went under my blankets because I got cold. So Aphmau is like, good job, baby. You did such a good job. Mommy is so proud of you. And Travis and Caitlyn are like, what did she do? Like, how did she open it? And she's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to be a supportive mom. Okay? I don't know what she did. Aphmau says that, it's probably because Aaron was able to close the portal, so Elena must be able to open the portal, and there's some type of connection there. So Travis gives Elena the necklace, because the necklace is supposed to protect you from like the imps and stuff, and so he gives it to Elena. They decide that Travis and Aphmau are going to go into the demon warlock realm thingy, and that Caitlyn is going to stay behind and watch Elena, because Caitlyn has such a good rap with taking care of children, stowaway children on the Enki Island. Never forget, gone but not forgotten. We cut back to Dante, who's trying to figure out how to find Zayn because he doesn't know. I don't even think they know that Zayn took Emmeline. Yeah, I don't even think they know that Zayn took Emmeline at this point. I mean, obviously we know, but I never thought about it. I don't think they know. Like, there is no evidence that Zayn took her. Jean walks over and he's like, you could use a little motivation, I guess. So then Leona walks over. Leona's just like, Jean, who is this? And then Jean's like, oh, this is my brother Dante. And then he's like, uh-oh. And then he runs over to Kenmare and he's like, Kenmare, we need to try and find Emmeline. I think I know who took Emmeline. And then he's like, how the hell do you know my wife? And then he freaks out again. So then he's running down the streets and he runs into Kawaii-chan and he's like, Kawaii-chan. And then she's like, oh, who are you, you freak? You are freaking me out. And he's like, uh-oh. And then Jean walks over and is like, what's going on here? And Kawaii-chan's like, oh my god, my awesome, super hot, amazing husband, there you are. Who is this guy? He's freaking me out. Then Dante runs away, and for some reason, Kawaii-chan's in her old clothes. Like, I'll put an image up here from last season. She's not in her new ones, which, I mean, I like her clothes from the last season more because they make her not look like a child, dare I say. I said it, dare I say, and I said it. Aphmau and Travis make it to the demon warlock, and they get in there, and Travis is trying to figure out a way to find the demon warlock, so he's kind of like pondering, and Aphmau's like, hey, Travis, and he's like, shh, shh, Aphmau, shh, shh. And she's like, hey, Travis, and he's like, Aphmau, you are going to attract the imps. You've got to be quiet. And she's like, Travis. And he's like, well, there you go. You attract all the imps. And there's all the imps around. And he goes, oh, wait, I found him. Aphmau tells the demon warlock that they came for the Enki relic. And he was like, I knew this day was going to come. Explains why you brought him with you. Kind of sad that, like, he wasn't like, I see why you brought her. He barely addresses Travis. And when he does address Travis, he's teasing him about how he murdered his mother. Like, he's full on teasing him about it. He full on turns an imp into his mother and kills the imp. That's how much he's fucking with him right now. That's how much he's fucking with him, okay? Obviously, Travis gets mad at this, so he goes to attack the demon warlock, and the demon warlock, he immediately knocks Travis out. Aphmau's like, I'm gonna fight you. Then he's like, Irene, I love your work. I am such a fan of it. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm not Irene. And he's like, you don't remember? And she was like, no, because I'm not Irene. And he was like, oh, that's crazy. I cannot believe the others forgave you for what you did to Shad. Interesting. We know there was a Shad thing that happened, and Hyria did talk about it at the end of last season, but to my knowledge, and from what I remember, if I'm remembering correctly from season 2, the Shad thing was Asmund and Enki's fault because they were like, if we get rid of Shad, then Irene's gonna be happy. So then they tried to get rid of Shad, and then Irene got sad, and then we're like, oops, sorry for the Shad thing. Like, was that not the Shad thing? What was the Shad thing that involved Irene? Is he talking about now how Shad's mad at Irene that she gave him that relic? Is that the new Shad thing? Is there another new Shad thing? Am I being dumb? Am I being stupid? Is there another Shad thing? Comment down below, because I think I am forgetting something. I feel like I'm forgetting some sort of context. What I do find interesting, though, is I have not watched the video because I was making these videos and I didn't want to, like, sway my opinion on anything, even though it literally wouldn't sway my opinion on anything. There is a video essay out there talking about how Irene is actually evil. And you know what? I believe it. I believe the Irene is evil theory, just like how I believe the Princess Bubblegum is evil theory as well. I think they're literally almost similar characters, dare I say. So off topic. I'm going so unbelievably off topic right now. Also, I feel like I may have a point. Do I? I think I do. I think that, okay, anyways, whatever. He's just like, I'm gonna take your relic now. And she's like, no, you're not. And then they fight. And she's like, nuh-uh. And he's like, uh-huh. And then there's a flash of light. Travis jumps in front of Maou, takes the damage. He's covered in blood now. Bloody Travis everywhere. Maou fights him and she wins and throws his sword to the side. And he's like, where is my angel Irene? I want to see my angel Irene. And Travis is like, don't turn into angel Irene because he will absorb your power. And the demon warlock's like, what are you talking about? No, I just want to see angel Irene. If you kill me, I want you to kill me in your Irene form. And she's like, I'm not doing that. And then he taunts her and she's like, that's not me. I'm my own person. Irene is a separate person. I am not Irene. I'm my own person. I have my own decisions. Whatever Irene did, I did not do that. And he's like, fine, whatever, kill me then. And then she's like, nah, that's not for me to do. Then Travis runs over in his demon forms, stabs his dad. Travis uses like that book, like that tome that he took with him everywhere to, that he uses to keep his dad in check, and traps him in the book, which, if you remember from the second season when they did that, Lucinda's ex-boyfriend, when they banished him, that was like a lot of work. So that transports them back to the overworld, and Travis is passed out on the ground because he absorbed all of that himself, which, if you remember, Maou almost died from doing that. And he did it all by himself, and that was a demon warlock. That just wasn't a warlock. Brave Travis, brave. And then the camera pans up, and if you remember how they get in, it's like an orb. There's an orb that opens and closes. The orb turns into you guessed it, the Enki relic. Now they have the Enki relic. Episode 14. Not forgotten. Jean is like, oh, Kawaii-chan, don't I treat you the best? I'm like the best husband ever. Like, no husband will ever treat you the way I treat you. She's like, no one's ever treated me the way you have. You're my only husband and my only love, and you treat me the best a husband could ever treat me. And then she walks off, and Dante's like, okay, I've had enough. I'd rather die than continue to watch this. To watch you take over my life and watch you do this all over again. And then they begin to fight. Dante knocks him to the ground, and then Jean's like, well, if you walk away, I won't kill you. But I guess maybe now I have to kill you, even though he said he wasn't going to kill Dante because he was like too important to this entire thing to kill. But I guess he's not important now to kill or whatever. I don't know. I guess these notes weren't written the best. But he was like, you should be like me. I'm happy and carefree. And Dante's like, I was until you came here. And then he's like, that sounds like a personal issue that I'm not involved in. And then he goes to strike. What does he do? He goes to strike Dante. He does something. He throws some shit at Dante, or puts his sword to Dante. I don't remember, but Nekawet comes out of nowhere and she blocks it. And she's like, don't hurt my dad. And then Dimitri comes and is like, you leave my dad alone. And then Jean starts laughing and he's like, oh my god, you have kids? I've always wanted children. And he says it in the funniest voice ever. I was audibly laughing. I thought it was so funny the way he said that. It was genuinely hilarious. It was so funny. So we cut back to Aphmau, Travis, and Caitlin, and now they're at like an infirmary, and Caitlin's standing over him being like, God, you're so stupid. And Aphmau's like, is he gonna be okay? And Caitlin's like, yeah, the doctor said he's stable now. So then they begin to talk about Enki's relic, because it's just sitting on the table and it's not attracted to Travis. Like when the Irene relic, when Aphmau touched the Irene relic was like immediately absorbed into her. When she touched the Shad relic was immediately absorbed into her. Asmon's relic was absorbed by Gareth, but he no longer has it. He had it at the end of season 2, and then I don't know. I'm confused now. So Caitlin is like, if only there's a way we could figure this out. Like if there's somewhere we could go or a person to talk to. And then Aphmau's like, Caitlin, you beautiful, wonderful genius. And Caitlin's like, yeah, I know, you don't have to announce it. And then she's like, wait, what did I do? And she's like, I know exactly where we need to go. And so then we cut back to Dante and Cast. And Nekawet is apparently the best sword fighter at the guard training academy, which I find weird that her like weapon of choice is a sword, because season 2 she was shooting everything with arrows. Do we not remember the arrow phase? Is that just a phase every child goes through where they're like really into archery and they just want to shoot everything? I had an arrow phase. We all remember like the Nerf girl spin-off, that one. I was obsessed with my Nerf bow. Jean is like, okay, time to kill you and the kids, I guess now. Even though he said he wanted kids. What's going on, Jean? Kwai-chan walks over and is like, you get away from my daughter. Jean is like, wait, how is that even possible? How do you remember this? How are you remembering any of this? You're under my control. And then everyone from the town, the entire village, is coming over and is like, who are you? You leave Dante and Dimitri Nekawet alone. Who are you? Get out of our town. Yeah, get out of our town. Like, they form a mob. They're mobbing Jean right now. Dante's like, well, you got sloppy, I guess, when we were fighting. You were putting so much focus on our fighting that you forgot to keep everyone's brainwashed, I guess. And then Jean is like, are you not going to kill me? Because Jean is now like being overpowered. And he's like, you're not killing me? And Dante's like, no, I'm not going to kill you. Because I want you to remember the only reason you're living right now is because I let you live. Mic drop moment. Jean warps away. So it goes back to Caitlin, Aphmau, and Travis, and Elena. And then Caitlin's like, do you think Travis is gonna be okay? And Aphmau's like, you just said that the doctor said he was stable. And she was like, well, no, health-wise, yeah, but like mental health-wise, do you think mentally health-wise he's gonna be okay? I mean, he just killed his father. And Aphmau's like, yeah, I'm sure he's gonna be fine. Why do you care? And she was like, I don't know what you heard or you think you've heard, but you've heard nothing. And then she threatens Aphmau. So then they go to the Enki ruins. They bring the Enki relic with them. If you remember what the Enki ruins are, it is like this place in the mountains that no one could open until Aphmau got there, and she opened it, and it's like a little pretty cave with a single book in it on a podium that spoke to Aphmau, and it was basically Enki apologizing to Irene for the Shad thing. I'm guessing a different Shad thing. Well, we know what that Shad thing was. That Shad thing was, injuring Shad. Anyways, she says they didn't just come here because, it's Enki related, but also because something the demon warlock had said. Basically, she's like, the demon warlock talked about how Enki knew basically about everything about Irene, so I thought coming back here, maybe we'll figure out something now that we have the relic, because she was like, obviously there's nothing else we can discover here, but maybe having the relic we can discover something else here. So when they go in there, the Enki relic glows and opens a secret tunnel. I wish I was wearing my secret tunnel shirt right now. That'd be so iconic. But 1, it's dirty in my hamper, and 2, I already wore it. I can't wear it again. That'd be so embarrassing. Come on. What are we doing here? And then it cuts back to Dante and Kawaii-chan confessing their love to each other. Blah, and it's the end of the episode. Episode 15, Shad and Irene. So we go back to Travis, and he's finally awake, and the doctor's like, excuse me for saying this, but you are really, really lucky for being alive. Really lucky. And Travis is like, why did you save me? And he's like, well, contrary to popular belief, a lot of us have really fond memories of your mom, and we don't hate you, but also I am a doctor and it is my responsibility to save people. And he's like, all right, that's pretty valid. And he's like, wait, why can't I move? And the doctor's like, you see, you were thrashing a lot and I didn't want you to hurt yourself because, you know, you were already injured. So I used a muscle tranquilizer on you. And he's like, what? And he was like, yeah, I had to use a lot of it because you're not like fully human. So when I had to use a lot because you wouldn't stop moving until I put a bunch in you. And he was like, great. And then he just walks away. So Elena sneaks over and is like, I'm your doctor now and I'm taking care of you. And he was like, that's not Elena. And he's like, Elena, do you have some of your mom's magic healing powers? And then she was like, I don't know, let's try. And then she just starts like slapping him and beating him up. And he's like, oh my god, stop. You do not have your mom's magic powers. That bit's funny. I did enjoy that bit. I do enjoy Elena. I think she is a funny kid. So we go back to Aphmau and Caitlin and they enter the hallway into the secret tunnel, which leads to a huge library. They have found Enki's library. Enki, the keeper de Doi. Aphmau is amazed by the amount of books there because she's like, oh my god, we can learn so much. I can learn so much about myself. We can learn so much about everything that's happening. Like, this is amazing. We can learn so much about the divine warriors and the relics. And then they start to go through the books and Caitlin's like, Aphmau, there's no words on these pages. They are all blank. Aphmau throws a tantrum and then suddenly there's words on the book because if I've learned anything in my personal life, complaining does get you places. Anyways, so Caitlin gives it to Aphmau and then she gets like a flashback. So it's Irene talking to some villagers and the villagers are talking about how there is this like shadow person that's coming in and like killing all of their crops. Like they're like, our crops keep dying and some guy keeps coming in, destroying them and then running back into the woods and we do not know what to do. So Irene heals the crops and she's like, I'll get to the bottom for this for you guys. So she goes into the woods and finds Shad. Shad is there. Shad is the shadow man. What? He puts his sword to her throat and is like, you silly fool, I'm so powerful and you're not. And then Irene laughs and he's like, why are you laughing? And she's like, well, you're just a boy. And he was like, what? I'm not a boy, I'm a man. She was like, no man would put a sword to a woman's throat. That's just like, that's boy behavior. That's not man behavior, that's boy behavior. He's like, screw you. Then he tries to attack her and then she blocks it and he's like, whoa, no normal human can stand up to me. How are you doing this? And she's like, well, I'm no normal human. They both get back up and attack each other. They knock each other's swords to the ground. And then Irene is like, oh my god, I'm not the only one having this gift from the gods. And he's like, gift from the gods? This is a curse. People fear us. People don't like us. This is a curse. And then she just like starts laughing and he's like, why are you laughing? This isn't funny. Why are you laughing? And she's like, it's just nice to know that I'm not alone and I'm not the only one that has this mysterious power. I'm giving you consent to hit me. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, go for it. Get your sword and try and hit me. And he was like, you're crazy. And she was like, well, the moment you turn your back, I'm disappearing. And he was like, what? And she was like, go, try. And then he turns around to get his sword and then he turns back around and she's gone. Now, if I was Shad in this situation, I would have backed up and kept eye contact like a weeping angel. We all know what weeping angels are from Doctor Who. If you look away from them, they come and they try and kill you. Well, this is the opposite. Anyways, Shad, you should have kept your freaking eyes on her. Not that hard. Just back up, keep eye contact, and like feel awkwardly around on the ground for your sword. I will never be in that situation because I'm not Shad and I don't have magical powers and I'm not beefing with a beautiful goddess in the woods. So we go back to favorite duo, Zayn and Emmeline. And Emmeline's like, interesting. And he's like, bro, you've been here for weeks. What is taking you so long? Why are we still here? What's going on? And she's like, dude, I'm a scholar of Irene. I'm not a scholar of Shadow Knights. I don't have much on them. Nobody knows anything about Shadow Knights. Like, there's not much written about them in books, at least books that are available to us now. Which, again, I was saying this earlier, I don't understand why he took Emmeline, because if Emmeline was a scholar of like all the divine warriors, that would be helpful, but she's not. She's just an Irene scholar. She would know nothing about Shadow Knights, and she's said it so many times. So I just find this whole thing infuriating, because why are you keeping her? Are you developing like backwards Stockholm syndrome? Reverse? I wouldn't fall in love with Emmeline. Emmeline says that no one knows why Shadow Knights even exist, like nobody knows why, and he's like, well, you need to go back to work or I'm gonna kill you. And she's like, okay, dude, chill. I am trying. So Dante goes to talk to Kenmare and says he's figured out what's happening. And he says that Zayn is the one that took Emmeline. They figured it out. He must still be in Phoenix Drop because Jean said that he's here and that he has a plan to get her back. Caitlin and Aphmau go back to check in on Travis, and they go up there and they're like, the fuck happened to you? And he's like, and Elena's like, I fixed him. That's what happened. And this man's like, he's covered in bruises, head to toe. Episode 16, Travis's past. We're like, we're at the Enki group, the Enki Island group, and they're downstairs in the infirmary. Travis is upstairs, and Elena's like, did I do a good job, mommy? And Aphmau's like, yes, sweetie, you did an amazing job. Travis looks wonderful. He looks like a blushing new bride. Like, you did such a good job. And Travis is like screaming from upstairs, are you kidding me right now? So Aphmau asks the doctor to watch Elena, and Aphmau and Caitlin go upstairs. They tell Travis what they found in the ruins. They found like these books, obviously, and Caitlin theorizes that Aphmau Irene visions when she's under some sort of like spiritual distress. Travis theorized that all of the books are sealed with magic. No shit, Sherlock. No shit. They talk to Travis about why he hasn't bonded with the relic, and he's like, well, it's simple. I don't want it. And they're like, what? That's not simple. And he's like, oh, I guess it isn't that simple. And he was like, well, so I just killed my dad and all, and that's like a whole thing I just did. And my mom always wanted me to be free. And now I'm free from my dad. I no longer have to like kill imps and protect people from him. And I don't know what I want to do. All I know is I want to be at peace in my life before I take any sort of strong power on like the Enki relic, because I am scared of being consumed by power. And Caitlin calls him stupid. Like, you're so dumb that you think like we wouldn't like support you on your decision, because he was like afraid to tell them. And he's like, all right. And she's like, well, we're here for you. Like, if you need us, we aren't gonna like force you to do anything you don't want to do. We're not disappointed in you. And then Travis is like, wow, I didn't know you felt that way about me, Caitlin. And then she's like, what? I don't. And then leaves. And then Travis is like, that was weird, right? Like I'm not the only one that thought that was weird. And Aphmau's like, no. That was definitely weird. That was a weird thing that just happened right now. But let's get out of here. So then they leave. So we go back to Kenmare and Dante. What is that plan, you may ask? So you remember in season 1 when Nicole went missing and a whole war was starting because Nicole went missing, #Helena of Troy core, and Kenmare made these like heat goggles to try and find her, and then they found her, and then they stopped the war. Well, his idea is to do that, because obviously if Jean says that Zayn is in Phoenix Drop or someone around Phoenix Drop, obviously he's somewhere in Phoenix Drop, because Shadow Knights can detect other Shadow Knights. Like they have like a radar for it. They're Shadow Knight radar. So he's like, what if we use your heat signature goggles and walk around and try and find it? And he's like, that's a terrible idea, because we don't know where they are. They could be anywhere in the region. And it's like, Kenmare, Jean just left. You witnessed Jean leave, because you were there. He was one of the people that are like, who are you? Get out of here. Me. He was one of those people. So this just happened. Zayn could be there. So I think it's worth a try walking around with these heat signature goggles on, even if you don't think it's going to work, because y'all have done nothing for weeks to try and find her. You've had no leads. This is the first leads. Get off your butt and try. Nobody wants to get up and work, but he doesn't think it's going to work. And then Dante's like, okay, I guess I see your point. What if we can make it more specific, and we can make it to pinpoint down Nether signals, like signals from the Nether? And he's just like, no. And Dante's like, why? And he's like, well, we need obsidian for that, and getting obsidian is really dangerous, and I personally don't feel like dying. And Dante's like, okay, I see your point. Here's my counter argument to that. If my beautiful blushing wife got kidnapped by a sociopath that not only wanted to harm her, but like is a menace to society, I would go get the obsidian. However, I don't have a wife that was kidnapped by a sociopath. So that's just me. That's just what I would do. But I don't like I said, I don't have a wife that got kidnapped by a sociopath. That's my whole tangent about their plan. So then they say they're going to do it the old-fashioned way and just go around and ask people. Because that definitely sounds more productive than heat signature goggles. Caitlin walks up to Travis and is like, are you ready to go? We're going to the Alliance Island. Travis is like, I've been waiting to be free from the demon warlock for so long. Now I'm free and I don't know what to do. Well, like, what is my purpose in life? I need to find a new purpose. And it's like, honestly, Travis, relatable. In my notes, when I wrote this, when I had a job after I'd graduated, I said, Travis, I literally was like, Travis, we've all been there, but if I can find a job, you can find a job. You'll find your peace. You'll find your thing. I hate to break it to you, Travis. The job market's quite difficult right now. I'm struggling for my purpose too, man. I'm in my room at the age of 22, in my bed, talking about Minecraft roleplay from 9 years ago. 7? 8? How long ago was this one? I think it was like 7 years ago. So Caitlin's like, what are you going to do now that you're back on the island, though? Like, I know you just talked about how you have no prospects at all, but, like, what are you going to do? And he was like, maybe I'll do something that, like, pertains to being by Aphma's side. And she was like, okay, how about this? You can come back to Brightport with me. And he's like, and join the Dragon Ward? I don't know if I want to do that. And she's like, what? No. When did I mention the Dragon Ward? Just come back to the island with me. Or not island. Come back to Brightport with me. And he's like, okay, I'll think about it. And then she's like, okay, let's head back to the ship. So episode 17, Sneak It Baby. So they make it back to the island in Aphmau, and Caitlin give a hot girl talk to Travis, and how he needs to keep his head up. Things are going to get better. Don't you worry. And Travis is like, oh my God, thank you. I feel so honored for this hot girl pep talk. Aphmau goes to check in on Leo, Shant, Garth, and Lilith. And I didn't mention this, I don't know why, but they've been freaking out this entire time because they have no clue where Elena is, and they hear Aphmau coming, and they're like, oh my God, how are we going to break it to Aphmau that we lost Elena? So they come back, and they're like, Aphmau, we have something to tell you, and she's like, oh, you do? And then Elena comes running in. Caitlin and Elena both call Travis Stinky because he's a hermit on top of the hill, and that Travis needs to go get some new clothes. So they go to the market. Well, not the girls, just Travis and Caitlin. They go to the market. Leo Shant talks about his dedication to wanting to take care of the girls, which is so sweet. We love a man that loves taking care of children. Him and Elena go upstairs. Leo Shant and Elena, they go upstairs. And then Aphmau updates Garth on everything that's been going on and is like, oh yeah, we killed the demon warlock and blah, 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 blah. This is everything that's happened, blah, blah, blah. Oh, secret library, blah, blah, blah. You know, Caitlin decides that Travis needs to get a haircut, and I agree. That's not Travis. I agree. Travis needs a haircut. I hate when Minecraft boys have this haircut. No, it's not even Minecraft boys. It's also Minecraft girls. I'm not discriminatory here. I just don't like this shape of bang. Apparently I'm anti-bang this episode. You can't see my bangs, so that's probably why. So Garth is like, Travis is dumb and stupid for not accepting the relic. And it's like, Garth, like, bitch, you don't even have your own relic right now. Like, obviously he's using it for something. No, they're not even using his relic now, because the whole point of using Esmond's relic at Brightport was to keep the Nether portal in check, but they don't need to keep the Nether portal in check. So Asmon's relic's just there, and Garth doesn't have it. So bitch has no right to talk right now, is what I'm getting at, okay? Malachi barges in and is like, Pigro Village, which no one pronounces correctly this entire time, not even Haley, has been attacked by Shadow Knights. And there were only 2 different villages that were shown attacked by Shadow Knights, like Jean and stuff. But I mean, it could have happened after. The first village didn't look like Pigaro Village, the one they spawned in. And then the second one was in a swamp. And Pigaro Village isn't in a swamp. So I think it was, I don't know. I don't think it was shown. Anyways, episode 18, they aren't safe. Travis has a Y2K fashion montage. He has a Y2K fashion montage. I love fashion montages, you know, when they put on like the dumb shit and then you get to the like, yes girl, yes. I love a fashion montage. We cut back to Gareth, Aphmau, and Malachi. And Malachi is continuing to tell them about the Shadow Knight attack. Malachi tells them that Shadow Knights are looking for someone, and they assume it's Elena, but we all know that they're actually looking for Zayn. Aphmau is like, we need to get the girls to somewhere safe, and she's like trying to think, what is the safest place where I can take these girls that no one will be able to find them, where Shad won't be able to get to the girls. And Garth is like, what is more safe than this place? Like, what would be more safe than the Alliance Island that has like everyone we trust on it? Aphmau has an idea, and she's like, let's go take the girls to Hyria, because Shad probably won't be able to make it there because, you know, Hyria is in charge of her forest and can probably like deter Shad from coming in, and they'll be safe in her grotto. And he's like, oh yeah, that's a pretty good idea. So Caitlin and Travis sit on a bench because Travis wants a break from all of the makeover and being pampered. Oh no, Travis, you're getting new clothes and bathed and pampered. Oh no, that sounds like a nightmare. I would hate to have that happen to me. And then they talk about how Caitlin is good at shopping for boys' clothes. All right. And then Caitlin is like, time to go for that haircut. But then they get intersected by Levin about the attack, and he gets no haircut. So he's stuck like this now. Forever. Forever he has this haircut. Aphmau tells Caitlin that she wants to find Lucinda. Yes, my queen Lucinda. For those who don't know, Lucinda is my favorite character. But no one really knows where she is, and no one can get in contact with Haley. So Aphmau's like, all right, time to go to Picaro Village, I guess. Caitlin says that she can't go with her because she's already been gone from Brightport for way longer than she expected to, which is like, good on you, Caitlin, for acknowledging that you do have responsibilities. I feel like a lot of people in this series just pretend they don't. And then she tells Leo Shant that he also needs to come back and take his position at the Dragon Ward because of all of the chaos that is happening right now in their world. And so Aphmau heads to the Sacred Forest with the girls and Gareth. The Ag gang. Aphmau girls Gareth. That was really dumb. I don't know why I said that. Episode 19. I have to know. Before this episode starts, Aphmau talks about a new Minecraft Diaries poster. Now, if anyone knows where I can buy Minecraft Diaries merch, let me know because I will buy it. My unemployed ass will spend money on that because I love Minecraft Diaries. I remember, so off topic, when I was in high school, so that would have been after Minecraft Diaries ended. Yeah, I was in middle school when Minecraft Diaries was like the thing. When I was in high school, I got really into thrifting. I mostly thrift nowadays. This is not thrifted. This is from Hot Topic. But most of the time, my wardrobe, I thrift. So I was at, you know, a Goodwill and stuff, and years ago. Like, so probably back in like what would have been 2018. So I would have been like a freshman, sophomore in high school. That's when I started like going to thrift stores. I remember finding a Minecraft Diaries shirt, and I really wanted it. Like, I really, really wanted it. But I was in high school and peer pressure, and I was like, I don't want to act lame in front of my friends because I was there with my friends. So I was like, I can't buy this, but also, why would I wear it? That's such baby stuff. Like, why would I even want this? That's for babies. Minecraft roleplays are for babies. And then I just didn't buy it, and I regret it to this day. I think I'm fairly confident I would still be able to fit in it. I'm small, all right? I'm 5'1". I could fit in that. Regret to this day. If anyone knows where I can find one of those, let me know. Now, I'm not talking about modern Aphmau merch. I'm talking about the old stuff. I looked on eBay. I looked on eBay like a year ago because originally when I did the first one, I wanted like an Aphmau shirt. I thought that'd be so fun, but I looked everywhere and I couldn't find one. And so I was like, okay, that's the end of that story. So they update Hyria on everything's going on. It picks up when they're all at the grotto. Garth runs off because the girls are running around breaking things. Aphmau tells Hyria about, she talks about the Shad vision she's been having. So she talks about the one that happened in the Yggdrasil forest, and she talks about the one that happened at Enki's library, the 2 that she's had. She had more than those? Me thinks those are the only ones. Hyria says it's probably from the relic and that it's possible she put some of her memories in there, and that's probably where they're coming from, and that's literally the explanation for that. I know for a fact Elena isn't having flashbacks as she is 3 years old. Imagine Elena getting flashbacks to Shad, to being Shad. That'd be crazy. That would actually be crazy. Aphmau asks Hyria if she knows where Lucinda is, and she says that the last she heard from Lucinda is when she was in Picaro Village, and how Aphmau was like, well, Picaro Village was taken over by Shadow Knights. And then she was like, well, if Lucinda was there, it wouldn't have gotten taken over by Shadow Knights, so Lucinda probably isn't there then. I mean, way to hype up your daughter, but like, so we get an Aphmau costume change. So she tells Garth that he needs to stay with the children so that he can protect the kids, just in case something bad happens. And he's like, Aphmau, no, you'll need help. And she's like, no, stay here. And he's like, okay. So Hyria gives Aphmau a locket, which is also a communication stone. And she, and I quote, says, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Now, I'm not a Legend of Zelda fan, but I know a Legend of Zelda reference when I see one, as I've been on the internet for a while, okay? So Aphmau's kind of looking around Hyria's room a bit, and she's like, so Hyria, what was this armor for? And Hyria's like, well, contrary to popular belief, I haven't always been an old lady. And Garth's like, what? Was that like 900 years ago? I don't know what I was talking about. Oh my god, cookies. And then he goes to eat the cookies, because you never talk about a woman's age. Aphmau tells the girls that she needs to go, and no sneaky. There's gonna be no sneaky this time, Elena. You're not, no sneaky. And they're like, okay. So Aphmau finds the Picaro Village refuge camp and asks them if they have seen Haley or Lucinda. All of them say no. They haven't seen either of them. She asks where Picaro Village is, and they're like, well, it's, straight through there. Can't miss it. It's a burning village. And then one of them's like, wait, you're Irene, right? And she was like, yeah, but like keep it on the DL. And he was like, oh, okay, I'll keep it on the DL. But there's like a lot of injured people here. Like a lot of injured people here. Would you be able to heal like some of us maybe? And she was like, no, and then runs away because she can't heal anymore. Then she reminisces about how she misses how she could heal, and then kind of talks about how like if she couldn't heal, then Dante would be dead, because like at the beginning of season 2 when that happened? Oh my god, I think it was the beginning of season 2. Anyways, while she's talking, she gets knocked to the ground. Anyways, so that's gonna be the end of the first part. This is a 2-parter because I'm not editing 6 hours of freaking video. I did that last time and it almost crashed, and I wanted to die and almost lost like 3 hours of work on a 6-hour video. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe because I spent $10 on this. Anyways, leaving you guys off on a cliffhanger. We have 17 more episodes to go from here. Comment something down below. I don't know, oranges, like, did you make it through this video? I'm surprised. There was a lot of people in the last video I did where I like made a whole separate video to talk about my thoughts on this season 2, and a lot of people are like, girl, I would have watched to the end. I always watch to the end. And if you've watched the end, let me know, because honestly, same. I always watch to the end if I'm watching like a 4-hour video. I always watch to the end, as I watch these like 3 times before I post to make sure there are no mistakes, and sometimes there are mistakes, but anyways,